Now for our story. The early morning sun slanted across the countryside, pushing back the cool shadows of night. In the kitchen of her little farmhouse, Aunt Mary Lane was busy getting breakfast. The kitchen was redolent with the aroma of fresh coffee and baking bread. Aunt Mary put a dish of preserves on the table, then went over to the sink, stood looking out the window. She heard the sound of a distant screen door closing. It carried clearly on the quiet morning air. And that would be Lefty, she thought. And a few seconds later, she saw Lefty Larkin coming up the slope from his little house toward the back door. Aunt Mary broke a couple of eggs into the hot skillet and then calls to him as he reaches the house.
Eggs over, Lefty?
Eggs over. Some morning I'm going to fool you and decide I want scrambled eggs.
You wouldn't dare. That would tear up our whole system.
Good morning, Aunt Mary.
Morning, Lefty. Did you sleep well?
Oh, pretty good.
Pour yourself some coffee. I'll have your eggs ready in a jiffy.
Okay. How about you?
Oh, I've had my breakfast.
Where's Peggy?
She's up. She ought to be down in a minute.
Looks as if we're going to have a hot day.
Mm-hmm. Here you are, Lefty.
Well,
I made you some muffins.
I see you did.
Better butter them while they're hot, Lefty.
Gosh, these look good.
No, I hope they are.
Oh, you always say that. You know darn well you've never had a failure yet.
Don't you want some preserves, Lefty?
Strawberry?
Mm-hmm.
What is this, Aunt Mary, an occasion?
As a matter of fact, it is. Lefty, don't you know what day this is?
Well, I know it's Wednesday. Aunt Mary, I haven't let anything slip up on me, have I?
Oh, no. This is your day.
What?
It was 15 years ago today, Lefty, that you first came here to the farm.
Well, that's right. Yeah. It was just about this time in the morning, 15 years ago, that Sheriff Williams let me out of jail. I can remember he gave me quite a little lecture on vagrancy. Yep. I can remember walking along the road on my way out here, wondering why in the devil you'd offered me a job. I still wonder why you did, when I remember how I must have looked.
Well, you weren't exactly what one would call prepossessing. I don't know, Lefty, but there was just something about you. I knew you weren't, well, just a bum. You seemed so restless and lonely.
Yeah.
I've never told you this, but I was a little disappointed and worried at first.
How do you mean?
Well, when you came out that morning and we were talking in the parlor, you agreed to take the job, but I had a feeling that you wouldn't stay long.
I didn't intend to.
And I went out in the kitchen to fix something to eat for you. You remember? And when I came back, Peggy was there.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember.
I never will forget how you looked at that child. I don't know why it was, but I knew then that you'd stay. I remember thinking that maybe this was what you were looking for. A home. A place where you could feel secure. I was right, wasn't I?
Yes, Aunt Mary, you were right. It's funny, though, that you should have thought I was looking for something.
Why?
Well, you could have just as easily wondered if I went running away from something. As a matter of fact, you could still wonder about that.
No, Lefty. Because I know you aren't the sort of a man who would run away from anything. I don't know what brought you here, but whatever it was, I'm certainly grateful. I don't know what I would have done without you all these years, Lefty. Trying to run this place, and Peggy and Randy growing up. Well, how about some coffee?
No, thank you. Not right now. Aunt Mary, about Peggy,
Yes?
what time did she get back last night?
Oh, it was about 10, I think.
What did she have to say?
I didn't talk to her.
You didn't?
No, I was in bed. I thought maybe she'd come by my room for a moment, but she didn't.
But didn't you find out why she took the car?
No. I think probably she just wanted to get out of the house for a while and think things over. You know, you can't push Peggy, Lefty. When she's ready to...
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, honey.
What would you like for breakfast, Peggy?
Oh, I don't want anything right now.
Well, there's your fruit juice.
Oh, that'll be fine.
Oh, Aunt Mary made some muffins. Oh, you're missing something.
I know. They look awfully good. I'm not very hungry right now.
Well, I'd better get started on my upstairs cleaning. Have everything you need, Lefty?
Yeah, thanks.
I'll do the dishes, Aunt Mary, and then I'll be up and help you.
All right, dear.
Quite a rainstorm last night, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of nice to drive in the rain sometimes, though.
Yeah.
Where'd you go?
When?
Last night in the car.
Oh, I just drove into town and back.
You look kind of tired. Didn't you sleep well?
Not too well, I guess.
Look, honey, that Bill Meade isn't worth losing any sleep over.
I'd rather not discuss Bill, if you don't mind, Lefty.
But I do. Because I don't want to see you hurt this way.
But I'm not. I'm all right, Lefty.
Sure, you'd say that, but I know. Aunt Mary told me what Bill said to you last night. Or rather, what he didn't say.
Did she?
I know Aunt Mary has some notion that, well, that maybe there's something Bill can't tell you. She doesn't think he's deliberately cruel. Well, maybe not. But if a person is weak and doesn't know his own mind, well, that can amount to the same thing. Any fellow who's married and then comes running to a girl as Bill did to you, starts talking about getting a divorce and then changes his mind practically the next day.
But, Lefty, maybe you're wrong. Maybe he didn't change his mind.
Yeah, I guess you're right. He probably had his mind changed for him. That's why he couldn't give you any explanation. No. He wouldn't be very willing to admit that the idea of losing all that good Calvert money was too much for him.
Don't say that, Lefty.
Well, maybe I shouldn't have. And when I think of what that boy's put you through time and time again, I don't see how Aunt Mary can have any faith in him.
Lefty, please. I don't want to talk about it.
You're well rid of him, honey. Any man who had any decency to him, any man who really loved you, I'd certainly like to go to that young man and tell him a thing or two.
You wouldn't.
Well, if I were your father, I would.
But you aren't. Lefty, you wouldn't dare go to Bill.
Wait a minute. What's the matter with you?
Nothing. I just don't want to discuss it, that's all. I know what you think about Bill. You say these things and you don't understand the real circumstances.
Maybe I don't. It certainly looks as if I've misunderstood something here. I thought you were through with Bill Meade. Peggy, you are, aren't you?
I have nothing to say.
Aunt Mary said you told her last night.
That was last night.
I see. Then I think we ought to have a little talk, you and I.
Oh, Lefty, there's too much you don't understand.
Well, I know men, I can tell you that. I know you probably think this is none of my business. But look, honey, if your father were here, he'd tell you
But
that...
he isn't. And you're quite right, Lefty. It is none of your business.
After Peggy had gone, Lefty sat there for some time. He was puzzled by her obvious change of attitude and hurt by her remark. But all his feelings were slowly giving way to anger.
What's happened to her? She couldn't have changed her mind overnight unless someone changed it for her. And there's only one person who could have done that, and that's Bill Meade. So that's why she was being so evasive about taking the car. So that's it. Well, maybe I made a mistake when I came here 15 years ago. Maybe I should have told Peggy then that I was her father. Yeah. Maybe I made a mistake, but I'm not going to make one now. I think I'll have a little talk with Ben Calvert.
Lefty Larkin got up, threw his napkin on the table. He knew what he was going to do. So you've decided to take things into your own hands, have you, Lefty? So you're going to see Bill Meade's father-in-law. But I wonder if this is quite the time to put your cards on the table.